Uh, Buenos días desde Sydney. No sé si hay alguien por ahí, no hay alguien por ahí que me pueda decir algo. Buenos días. Estaba aquí, pues mira, me habéis pillado justo pues sacando a los koalas del agua porque no estaban nadando entre las banderas y bueno, pues he dicho, venga, hay que salirse un poco. Así que me pilláis que son las... Me voy a quitar la gorra y me voy a quitar la camiseta de socorrista que tenemos aquí en Australia. Y tengo una camiseta mucho mejor, no sé si me la podéis ver. Y un peinado mucho mejor. Y bueno, me voy a poner unos cascos porque espero que me digáis todos bien. Ajá, pues estamos en Sydney, pues yo vivo un poco en el interior de la ciudad de Sydney, no muy lejos de Maroubra, que es la playa donde yo ejerzo de voluntario. Bueno, yo para que me conozca y que no me conozca, soy Rodrigo. Gracias, soy Rodrigo. Bueno, yo soy de Guadalajara, soy de esos Waterman que antes nos han hecho ese taller tan divertido de salvamento y de primeros auxilios. Bueno, para que me conozcan, soy un poco la voz de ese Waterman Challenge del Festival de Música and Friends y uno de los que aporta su granito de arena, en este caso con mi voz, siendo uno de los comentaristas y además intentando ayudar en la organización del Waterman Challenge. Y bueno, va a ir muy rápido esto que ya hemos estado haciendo durante este festival Virus, que ha sido una idea excepcional. Cuando me lo dijeron y me lo pensé, son, ya lo he dicho, las 6 menos cuarto aquí, perdón, las 7 menos cuarto aquí en Australia. Y bueno, y vamos a hacerlo muy especial porque vamos a hablar con Tyler Steele, el mitiquísimo filmmaker que ya tuvimos la suerte de ver en junio, si no recuerdo mal, en Avilés, en la presentación de Momentum Generation. Y bueno, voy a tener la suerte de hablar con él. Va a ser una conversación en inglés, así que voy a intentar ir poco a poco resumiendo a ver de lo que vamos tratando y demás, pero bueno, para darnos un poco este, esta visión, yo creo, que estamos teniendo los que vivimos fuera de España ahora mismo, pues en este caso en dos sitios como son Australia y como es California, y a contaros un poco lo que yo creo, un poco la visión que estamos teniendo de tanto del salvamento y del surf en los dos, porque la verdad que el impacto ha sido importante. Bueno, pues nada, sin más dilación me voy a ir a buscar a Taylor Steele, a ver si le tenemos por aquí. Y bueno, voy a aprovechar a estos momentos, pues eso, pues para dar las gracias a sus Music and Friends por estar aquí. Hey, hello Tyler.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm good, good. How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
I hear you perfect, mate. That's good.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah. Oh well, it's just a pleasure talking to you. I think the first time that I watched one of your movies is when I started surfing. I started surfing really late, and it was Drifted and Castle in the Skies.
Okay.
And it was a long time ago. I remember that.
Don't make me feel old.
No, don't worry. Yeah, I'm now talking to you. I think it's an amazing experience, and I have to say thank you very much. Thank you for joining the call. I suppose that you're in San Diego, are you in California?
I'm in San Diego and it's a rainy day today, so it's a good time to do this. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had a rainy day in Sydney, so I'm in Sydney at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. So I live here. I just mostly spend the whole Australian summer here, and whenever I can, I go to Spain in summer as well, because
Yeah.
I do like saving and yeah, surfing. I do my own things as well. I work on IT, so
Nice.
I'm good to move and so on.
Perfect.
Yeah. So well, as you know, the crazy story of the Virus Festival. Uh,
Yes. Yes. So how's it all going?
Yeah, so far so good. I mean, I've been watching the stories and stuff. I've been sleeping, so I have to be honest. I watched last
Yeah.
night and I watched a little bit this morning, but it was quite fun. And
Right. Nice.
yes, amazing. Oh
Yeah.
well, so I was trying to talk a little bit to the audience that we have that we're gonna try to have this conversation in English. So in English, sorry. So and I'm gonna probably uh give a brief summary what we're talking about if people they can I get in. However, I think we're going to talk a little bit about how our lives have been impacted from two places like California and Australia at the moment
Mm-hmm.
with the
Mm-hmm.
coronavirus. If you're happy with that, we can get like some
Yeah,
whatever it
but
comes, whatever we bring.
you have the mic. You tell me.
That's great.
Um,
I'm think I'm gonna ask you first. What were you doing when everything happened? Can you remember?
yeah. I was in New York at the time, and I was
Mm.
staying in a hotel, and I was doing just some work for the tequila stuff that I'm doing. And
Hmm.
all of a sudden, it went like each day progressed awareness of it really. Like it was Wednesday, we were still meeting and still going out to bars and still, but people were starting to talk about it and being a little bit more spaced out and just conscious of not getting too close or touching things or shaking hands and hugging. All that was starting to be in the conversation. And then by Friday, 2 days later, it was just like the whole city was like stopping.
Mm.
And I flew out that Saturday, and it was just like the weirdest feeling going to the airport, and just the vibe was just super strange. And yeah, so it you could just feel the whole city just like closing in. And I just wanted to get back to a place that I knew I could be settled for months, and that wasn't in New York.
Oh yeah, it's actually like shocking. I remember, so we were here, and because we're really close to China, with a lot of a big Chinese community living in Australia, especially in Sydney. I remember when he came back. I think it was probably February when we had the news. Oh yeah, this new virus is affecting a lot of China and so on. And I remember the Australian government straight away, they decided to uh, build up again like kind of a quarantine areas.
Hmm.
Um, but we do have an island already here. Everybody knows about Christmas Island, and they already set up another one. And people were, oh well, it's another quarantine, doing normal life and stuff like that. And we're not really cautious, honestly. Just like things were happening, and suddenly one day, I think it's got to be crazy, and everything happened with Bondi here.
Mm.
So that was the day. It was actually 21st of March, so not really far, and we watched the news, and Bondi was packed. I think it was like nearly 3,000 people in the beach, and we saw the police going to the beach, and every single news like pointing to Bondi and so on. And we knew that a lot of the people coming from overseas, they were going to Bondi. So I was like, okay. Next day I had to go to Maroubra because I was doing life saving, so I had patrol on Maroubra, and I was like, guys, if these guys are closing, something is going on.
Yeah.
So the next day, everything was closed. Every single beach in the eastern suburbs in Australia, they were closed, and it was shocking. I remember that. I was like, wow,
Mm.
like even like stop police and stuff. That was really impressive.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And at the moment, are you in San Diego? So you
I,
supposedly you
I,
locked down?
I'm in San Diego. I'm locked down. I haven't surfed or done anything like that for like 3 weeks now. But I do remember San Diego, approached it the same way. Like everybody's not working, we're stressed out. And so people are just going to the beach to spend their time and just going surfing and doing that. And, like in theory, giving space and surfing seems to make sense, but all the activities to get there, getting gas, food for lunch, all those things there's many touch points along the way. So that's a problem. And then just the beaches themselves were way too crowded, way too close. And
Mm.
so, like I wish surfing was still an option, but I don't see it being a fair way to approach it right now. I think the close down of beaches is the right call. Just let's all just lock in, and then we'll get through this faster. Otherwise, it's going to
Mm.
stretch out forever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally the same here. I remember that we had the same discussion in the club in Maroubra and internally in the beach with like the lifeguards and us and a few people more, because the problem that we have is we have the webcams on.
Yeah.
So if someone sees that you can go surfing in the water, and that's what we realized, everybody was coming and asking us, oh guys, can we actually go to the water? Can we surf? And technically we cannot say no
Mm.
because the beach is closed, but we don't have that competence. We cannot go and say, no, guys, no surfing.
Yeah.
So we realized that our problem is like the local community, it was going surfing, which it was okay, but a lot of people, they're not in the community, they were looking at the webcams and going there. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not in lockdown. So
Mm.
Australia is not in full lockdown. So we're able to walk out the house and we can go for a walk and we can go shopping. Same as in San Diego. I think most of the
Yeah.
business
The
are
same.
closed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I want to ask you something because I recently read the news and this is something interesting. Kelly Slater actually mentioned, we should surf because surfing, we keep social distancing, yeah? And suddenly I think there was a doctor that she replied and she wrote an article and she was saying that precisely social distancing in the water where we're surfing is not good enough. So
Mm.
what is your opinion about that? Because blow my mind a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. I think it. So I've talked to Kelly about it, and I know that he's aware of, some of the same things I talked about, where there's a lot of touch points along the way to go to the beach. It's not just as simple as just you're magically in the water. Like you have to drive there for a lot of people, and get gas and do all these things to get there. But I think it's just being aware of why we're doing this, and we're doing this so that we're protecting people that we don't know. We're protecting our family members that are older, and we're protecting a lot of people. And there'll be waves. There'll be more waves later. Like, let's just sort of like do our part and lock in, and then we'll be able to serve. Like we're so used to being able to relieve that stress, and I know that this is a stressful time, but tap into some other things that we have, like some other creative endeavors, or work on your house and do that, and just like do other stuff is my advice.
Yeah. I think the same here. We were talking about that in the club because we had to stop every single activity. So one of the problems that we had in the life saving competition is that we're supposed to be this weekend in the Aussies, in the Australian National Championship, which is the biggest event that we have in Australia because it's nearly, this year I think it was like over 6,500 participants.
Mhm.
It was no hesitate. I think we had the States in March, and 1 week later, they didn't even hesitate to cancel everything. And they were the ones that take everything. It's like, okay, if we stop the Aussies, which is a massive event, then we
Mhm.
have to stop everything. And we stop everything, every single training. You cannot even see people paddling themselves by themselves in the ocean, which is something that you can consider like social distancing.
Yeah.
But people are just consequent. It's like, yeah, we shouldn't do this. It's too much. Yeah. So I'm going to
Yeah.
ask to the audience if they can follow more or less what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And
I'll let you get
let me
caught up with
like,
everybody.
yeah. So, para los que están allí detrás, bueno, supongo que vais siguiendo la conversación, más o menos. Hemos hablado un poco de cómo nos pilló a ambos el tema del coronavirus y bueno, pues en este caso Taylor estaba en Nueva York, estaba trabajando en su proyecto de tequila y bueno, le pilló y de repente la ciudad se paralizó y bueno, y se tuvo que volver para San Diego, que es donde está ahora, que es donde está en lockdown también y bueno, y a mí me pasó que estábamos aquí en la playa precisamente y bueno, un poco a raíz de que Bondi tuvo que cerrar empezó una escalonada de cierres de playas y demás un poco más estricto. Nosotros en Sydney no estamos en lockdown, pero bueno, está casi todo cerrado y todos estamos teletrabajando y demás. Y bueno, estamos hablando un poco de esto, de ese artículo de Kelly Slater con una investigadora que decían que social distancing en surfing sí o no. Y bueno, pues yo creo que Tyler y yo coincidimos en lo mismo, que es más ser consecuentes con que, bueno, pues podemos esperar un poco a que no no le pillemos olas ahora y tengamos que esperar un poco, pero bueno, por el bien de todos. Well, thank you, Cello. I think it was quite quick, so hopefully.
Yeah. No,
Um,
it's fun. I read the questions when you do that, so it's good.
that's great. So I'm gonna ask you a little bit about this present. So it's like, what are you doing at the moment, like by yourself? So you doing like, yeah, I'm gonna focus on my work at the moment that I've got time and I can do a lot of things because yeah, you've been
Yeah.
like recently the last 2 years with the proximity and the momentum generation that I recently like watched it and I love it. It's a really, really good movie. And
Yeah.
you've been like 2 years with two films and now what's next? Is this time for you guys to actually focus on this, or is this kind of a secret?
um, let's see. Well, during in between those surf films, I've been working on this National Geographic's project called Save This, and it's we pick a different animal to save. And the first one was Save This Rhino, and the second one is Save This Shark. And the idea for this whole series is basically if you save these keystone animals, you save all of them, because just the area that you need to protect them, it gets all the other animals in there. So I've been spending a lot of time doing that. The last one we just worked on was with Mick Fanning with the sharks, and so that's the closest surfing thing I have right now. And then the previous one was with Kevin Peterson, a cricket player, and Graham Smith. Those guys were for the rhinos. And so the idea is to bring a sports figure that sort of gives the everyday man their sort of questions and point of view, and try to understand the situation from their eyes. So that's a fun thing that's coming out soon. And then surf films. I've been surfing more, so I haven't been working on a surf film lately. Like for me, when I make surf films, it's one of those things where it resets me. I started making surf films when I was 12, so I started doing it right after I started surfing, and it just brings me back to the core of who I am. And so sometimes when I'm working on commercials or I'm doing these big projects, documentaries, you're working with such big teams and you have so many people to answer to, that making surf films just resets my priorities and my filmmaking sort of soul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, I assume that what I was trying to see if is there any new projects in your mind.
I know I sort of avoided that, but
yeah, well, but fair enough. I cannot like push you on that, but I think I've read something like recently, yes, with Mick Fanning and with the Save an Animal, Save a Shark, because I think it was here in the community and so on.
yeah.
Well, I think we can bring that topic here because well, it's actually a thing in Australia. We all know that we are not about sharks. Well, we live with them. It's something that we cannot avoid. For the ones that they don't understand this really well, and it's a common question that everybody asks me. It's like, are there sharks there? I was like, yes. So every time that we train, every time that we go, we know they're there. The chances that you have to see one and the other is quite difficult too. This year is the first time that I've seen a great white shark training, and this is real story. I don't need to lie about that. We were paddling and we saw this fin and passed like under one of the ski paddlers and just progressed like, was that a shark? And the guy was like, yeah, I think it's a baby great white shark, and it was like probably 2.5 meters and so on. For us, it's such a common thing. It's quite normalized, but it's funny because every time that you talk to someone here, they're like two complete extremes. It's like, yes, we support the sharks, or no, they should disappear. There's nothing in between.
Right.
So how actually is this National Geographic, all of this that you're doing is facing a little bit this shark safe, because it's quite interesting at the moment.
Yeah, so we went to South Australia and we went to Ballina area to really study what's going on there. We also went to the Bahamas to sort of see the other side of sharks, where sharks are used for tourism and people are going to visit sharks and swim with them without cages. So the idea of it is to, like exactly what you brought up. A lot of people go, why do we even need sharks? So part of what we're doing is explaining why sharks are important. They might not be cuddly and a cute animal, but they're important to the whole ecosystem of the ocean. And without them, a lot of things just go completely out of whack. And so they're very important to how the ocean works. They're basically clean up a lot of diseased fish and things that would cause massive destruction. They clean it up and take it out. There's a whole bunch of other features that it really just regulates the flow of everything. But we use Mick Fanning as a way to tell a story because he's had trauma with sharks, and basically he's able to deal with his own trauma, trying to understand these points that I just brought up, and also like heal his own fears and concerns with sharks through the whole process. So it was an amazing journey to go with him for a month to these multiple places and really start with baby sharks and work our way up to swimming with as big as sharks get.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the big controversy that we have in Australia, and we know that, is the fish market industry. Is we've seen that. We actually I remember once we've been surfing in Ballina, and we found this shark in the shore without the fins, with the fins cut. And we didn't know really what was the story and so on, but I saw with my eyes people fishing sharks in there in Ballina. We've been there, and the river mouth, that you have the town in one side, and the other side you have the national park where you have the nice left one. Yeah. And we saw people fishing there. And I think it's a little bit like the question here is like how far the fish market industry can push this, or is it possible to have like shark farms where they can provide these shark fins that they need for soups and stuff like that, or is totally impossible? As big question. It's like really weird actually asking this.
No, I don't know the answer to that one. I do know that there's problems when you fish, you do the massive net fishing and you take all the food supply away from sharks, and then they don't have their food supply. So that's messes up the balance of the ocean as a whole. So like, I think if you're going to look at farming of anything, it'd be like looking at how we approach the whole ocean and not just sort of treating it, the way that we just pull it all up and not really analyze the numbers going on, So I think that's sort of the bigger question there. But what was interesting, working with rhinos, they're the cartilage in the nose of the horn of the rhino is super expensive, and there's a black market for it. That same black market is really closely aligned with the shark fin black market. So there's they're going to a lot of the same places, and it's an interesting world where this sort of the legal sale of those parts of animals. So I think it's twofold. It's one is managing the ocean properly, and sort of thinking down the line of what we do if we just ordering one kind of fish, or like for a certain sushi, if we're just eating just tuna, and what that does to the whole flow of things, and also going further down the road of governments sort of regulating what's coming in and managing sort of that side of it in those countries. So
totally agree. I think it's difficult, but the only way that we have to tackle all these problems, as you mentioned before, is getting tackled that black market, understanding exactly why we have that black market, and having regulations that it will be more strict and they will protect more all of this. And I think in our hands is, as you do really well, in our hands is to talk about this, to put it on the table, but and we need to push into better regulation on that. Totally.
Yeah, I think like everybody does their part, whether you're just aware of where the food's coming from, for your own consumption, or for me, it's like telling stories that make you be aware of it, but also care about it. And you can make up your own decision afterwards, but the idea is to really tell stories that, get an emotional charge and have a purpose.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to quick summary, and we can have a look into the questions. Bueno, como bien le está preguntando a Taylor que cuáles van a ser sus proyectos o en qué estar trabajando ahora mismo, ya que estamos un poco en este lockdown. Y bueno, pues está trabajando en unos documentales para National Geographic, para Save the Animals. En este caso, está trabajando con 2 jugadores de cricket muy importantes en Save the Reno, salvar los renos, y con Big Fanning en salvar al tiburón. Y bueno, hemos estado un poco pues debatiendo ese eterno dilema del tiburón. Todos sabemos lo importante que es para nuestros océanos por el bien que hacen. Efectivamente, no es una mascota, no es un animal en que podamos saludar y ya tocarles, ¿no? Y demás. Entonces tenemos que ser consecuentes de que hay que salvarlo. Y Taylor es, como dice él lo que intenta es contar las historias, darle ese componente emocional a las historias para que luego sea posible que investiguemos por qué realmente existe ese mercado donde se vende el cartílago del cuerno del reno, se venden las aletas de tiburón. Well, good.
Yeah.
Then next one. So I think I'm actually quite a positive person in all of this is happening. And I think I've been being conscious about like being more sustainable for the last years. And try to put it in place as much as I could since, I don't know, like probably 10 years ago. But I want to be positive. What do you think about, is it going to change? Are we going to finally use this moment of our life to start doing things a little bit better and to start like realizing, yeah, this is a great opportunity to be more sustainable, do something better for all of us, be more like have more solidarity between all of us? Or you're quite pessimistic and say, not much is going to change at the moment and nothing is going to change in the future?
I'm definitely on the positive side of things, and this never before has the entire world have the same focus and same sort of concern, and we're all we're looking at. I feel like it's uniting us as beyond borders and everywhere in the world. We're all challenging this problem, and we're all approaching it the same way. And so, for me, like that whole reset is profound. It's a really big moment. It's not something that I don't think we'll forget ever, and I'm hoping that we take this time to, reprogram our priorities. And I feel like before this, my days I'd wake up and I'd feel like I didn't have enough time in the day. And that would go from right when I woke up to when I went to bed. And that stress was intense. And I didn't notice it till this moment, when it all sort of disappeared and my year of travel was unknown, and I wasn't thinking about my next work thing, and so that disappearing, but on a real micro level, just the way that we approach our friends and our family and take them for granted, and be like sort of half committed to conversations, be distracted by our phones, all those things. I'm really hoping that is now washed away for at least a while. And just like walking out the door and they say the virus is gone and we all just are now off into the world. Like I hope that we just look at each other and we just appreciate everybody around us, our neighbors and beyond.
Yeah, I think that's the positive part that I'm trying to get from all of this craziness. It's like seeing like how socially everybody is actually realizing what is value for life at the moment. We've been I think so selfish sometimes and asking, yeah, I don't need to live in a community, it's not enough. But now when we have like really people, like all the health system that we have, like helping all of us to get through these, like police, essential services and stuff like that, even governments, even we like them or not sometimes, it's true that like there's some members in the government that they really try to understand this and say, okay, this is a problem. This is a massive global problem, and it's not going to be that easy to solve in this. And it's one of the things that I'm thinking as well is when we go back, I read a question before asking, do you think that it's going to be everything like really normal or quick soon again and so on? Well, I have to tell you that here in Australia, we're probably going to be slightly going back into normal. Like they say, probably like 15, 20 days. They're probably going to open schools, slightly going back. But it's not going to be even normal. I hope it's not going to be normal again, because our normal before, it was too crazy sometimes. I want a new normal. I want something that it will be, okay, this is a new normal we like. We like, as you mentioned before, we like going out. You see the neighbor. You talk to them. You help the community. You help each other because we're going to need it. It's actually, we need it now, but we're going to need it in the future as well. And I think that's the most positive part on all of this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the topic on the surfing industry because I've seen a massive impact in Australia. So everybody knows that at this moment we should be able to run all the world surfing rounds that we have here. We have the Coolangatta, we have after we have bells and so on. And everybody was coming. I remember like before everything happened, I was in Manly watching the Manly QS, and something vanished, completely stopped. And it's a massive impact. The other day in the surfing industry, they were telling here in Australia that the impact is going to be really, really big because all of this time of the season is quite important. Um, what is your feeling about like the surfing industry, about like this moment in particular? Is going to really crash into this surfing wall or not?
Mm. Yeah, I think this whole situation affects every business, and depending on what business you're in, it's a positive or negative. Um,
Mm,
but like the surfing is like I feel like the surf industry was going through changes already, and there was a lot of the big companies were struggling because everybody's sort of rooting for the new companies to succeed, and there's a lot of change in that side. Companies are downsizing before any of this happened, and so um, I don't like I'm not really I don't consider myself in the surf industry, so I don't really know the logistics of like will companies go out of business or will companies um, you know do well during this time. I don't really know. What I look at is for me, surfing's more than the industry. It's it's something that we will just do no matter what. Even if I have to
mm,
shape my own board, I'll do it, and where revert back to when there's no wetsuits. Like it'll still happen. So I feel like whether it's as big as it was or as glamorous or as a business, I don't know. But the beautiful thing about surfing is what it does for everybody. It's a way to wash off stress. It's a way to connect with nature and yourself. And so I feel like in that sense, it's always going to be there.
mhm. Well, I actually brought this with a little bit of an intention.
Yeah.
So the intention to me to ask this is because I wanted, when you were working for Corona, Corona the beer, yeah,
Not the
um,
virus.
not the virus. um, yeah, I remember that it was the time. I don't know if you were involved with Corona. Was the sponsor of the Bali surf competition, and it's I'm asking that because I remember that Corona was the one that brought the cleaning the beach project into that. So I saw the first time on the opportunity to really, really start introducing this thing that we talked before about being more sustainable, like using the resources that we have to do something better. And that's what I was trying now to see is like, and we're talking before, if the surf industry is going to actually change and it's going to change the mentality as well and start moving in that direction on trying to really move the surf industry into something more sustainable. That would be like something that,
Yeah, I think the surf industry um, follows what surfers want to do and follows what buyers want to do for the most part. And I'm hoping that there's definitely brands that lead and are thinking ahead of that. But I think like it's up to us to sort of ask for that and want something more. And I think just giving the earth a chance to breathe with everybody sort of staying in and on the roads and sort of consuming as much right now, like the planet's healing a lot, really fast. And we're seeing, it's all over the news, but like dolphins in Venice and, wild animals in different parts of places that they haven't been in a long time. And so for that's the exciting sort of side of it. Like that's the positive side of it. That just imagining the rest, on it all. In Bali, I used to live there for a couple of years, and there'd be a day of rest in March. Nipi is I think how you pronounce it, and it was one day where the whole country just turned off all the electronics. They stayed in, and they just were quiet and just you know, did that, and it was amazing to see. And I always thought that would be amazing for the whole world to do, and we're actually pretty much doing that, but on a much longer term. And
Yeah.
and so I think hopefully it just changes our perspective on a lot of things, and our buying is why we're buying stuff. You know, is it just habit? Is it something we need? What is it fulfilling? Sometimes we just aren't happy inside, so we're buying items just to fulfill that. And so it's maybe we could just analyze a lot of things that we do.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. Yeah. I'm more curious about what's gonna happen, for example, with the travel, like the travel industry, and how we're gonna um, go a little bit back into that, into being able to do the trips, enjoying all of those little paradise that we have, like the surfing in many places. Because I work for the travel industry at the moment, and my so we're realistic with the situation, and we know what's happening around the world at the moment, and it's not going to be an easy thing. It's not going to happen in 6 months. It's not going to happen in 1 year. When everything probably will slightly go back to normal, it's probably 1 year, because we close the borderlines. We actually are having countries that they're gonna try to be more restricted than others, and that's actually what frees me a little bit more at the moment. It's like, are we gonna be that control whenever we can travel? Are we gonna be that crazy of, oh yeah, now we're gonna go all to Indonesia, and it's gonna be all of this craziness about, like, oh yeah, where are you from? Are you Spanish? Well, you had like a massive cases of infection there. Uh, no, we really reject you and stuff like that. So that's going to be interesting, and you travel a lot, and
Yeah,
you know what's that, and
yeah,
it's going to be, I don't know what's going to happen. So
yeah. I've been thinking about that. You know, like Australia. I have some friends that flew back to Australia from Brazil, and they were, you know, had to spend 2 weeks in quarantine in the hotel right there at the airport in Sydney. Um, and so I was just thinking about, like, if that continued, how that would affect so many people wanting to go to Australia and other places. Um, I don't think that's a long-term plan for it all. Like, I think it would be one of those things where it's almost like, have you had your shots? And it's like, you have to prove it when you show your passport. You know, it's
mm,
like, you know, so I think in the future, it'll be one of those things where it'll just be a form that you have to get tested by a doctor before you travel, and then you have to go in and show that to the check-in lady. Is
mm,
what I imagine how that would sort of be solved. I'm hoping it doesn't become more regulated and more policed and more closed down, because a lot of countries depend on tourism.
mm. Yeah. Well, we know that, for example, for us, for Australia, is essential. We live in the tourism, we live in the international students as well.
Mm,
It's a massive, like, yeah, and on all of them, they bring a lot of money, but they do bring a lot of knowledge. People that they, as you mentioned before, which one is going to be your passport? Yeah, I've got already two passports, and
hmm
I where you're actually from is quite difficult now with the globalizations. I think it's going to be really difficult to get all of that and measure all of that. Yeah, I think it's, for me, going to be really interesting. Because it's the first time that I have the feeling that I cannot go back to Spain.
mm,
So I always thought about, like, oh yeah, now is a good time. I can go back to, same as you probably, like, oh, I'm not gonna go to New York, or wow, I can go maybe to Australia or something like that. But now it's the first time I was like, I cannot even go and see my family. So there's
mm,
70,000 k's from here. I cannot say, okay, I'm gonna fly and I'm gonna go in September to see them.
yeah.
We don't have that capacity anymore, and that is the first time it makes me feel a little bit like close, like really enclosed in somewhere. It's like, oof, okay. Then I don't know. I don't want to be this the new thing, but at the same time, I'm quite realistic uh, with the situation. So,
Yeah.
oh well, let's see what it brings.
Yeah, we don't know how long this is going to last where we can't do that sort of travel. But like, my parents live 10 minutes from me now, and I can't really see them, you know, because, you know, because I don't want to risk them, you know. So
Mm,
it's definitely a weird world in that sense. It's not all positive, but I just try to focus on this time to really sort of, um, you know, slow it down and actually work on some stuff that I never seem to have time in the day to do. And so, but I miss travel. You know, like, that side of it is, I have so many friends all over the world that I've been doing a lot more FaceTime with.
Yes, that's exactly true. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, I haven't not been able to do it, but it's do that internally, and you can connect more to people and so on,
yeah,
and it's different, like because we're in lockdown, but not really. So I really
hmm,
empathize now with the people that are in Spain
yeah,
because they're completely locked down, and then and between all of us is my family, and I talk to them, and even like you can see that it's quite difficult, it's quite hard for them. So I don't know if you feel that problem at the moment. If you're feeling like being at home, not going to the beach, not going surfing, is actually affecting you like physically and mentally. Because I've been
yeah.
locked down for 4 weeks, self-isolated for 4 weeks, and it's this first week is the first one that I had to start watching surf videos because I was like, I cannot do it anymore. So
Yeah.
cannot be here anymore.
Yeah, I would say, the first week I felt like a huge stress relief, and I've been locked down probably a month as well. And then the second week I got a little down and just going like, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then lately I just been doing exercise around the house and taking care of, just making a little checklist per day, and that's just helped me just sort of feel like I'm accomplishing something and I'm not in the Groundhog Day. And by doing those little things and turning off the news more and reading books more and just sort of, just approaching it differently, and now I'm back in a good space. So I think you got to figure out your own sort of wiring and whatever works for you. But it's easy to go down that dark rabbit hole. Yeah,
Yeah, we have the same. There's like I try to create a routine, and I'm lucky because I still have to work. I can work. I working from home, and my work is my normal activity. I'm not like changing much, but it's true. You have to create those little routines, those little things,
mm-hmm.
checklists on things that you have pending. It's like, oh, I want to do this and that, and yeah, reading more. Um, yeah, even watching more. I think I start watching more like documentaries and stuff like that. I start watching a little bit like series or normal things. I start watching something more, I
Yeah,
don't know, more productive, I think, because I've got
yeah,
more time. Not
yeah,
really much, but I've got a few more. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Um, I think I've got like, I think we have a couple of minutes more. How's it going?
okay.
Time? Good?
It's good for me. You want to catch everybody up with that,
Yes,
and
exactly.
translate?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah. Bueno, hemos hablado de muchas cosas. Yo creo que de lo que más así hemos dedicado tiempo es un poco intentar entender si va, porque ha habido esa pregunta de ¿crees que iba a ser todo normal? Bueno, ¿cuándo va sobre la normalidad y demás? Yo creo que Estados Unidos ralentiza más el tiempo porque ellos todavía están todavía en ese pico, pero no. En nuestro caso, en Australia, los casos son muy bajitos. Dicen que probablemente los niños puedan volver al cole a lo mejor en 15 20 un mes como mucho, pero bueno, poco a poco. Y ahí hemos estado hablando un poco de la industria del surf, qué va a pasar con esa industria. Yo creo que los dos estamos un poco. Yo le preguntaba más a Taylor que a mí, porque yo no tengo ni idea. Sinceramente, sí que he visto el impacto de no tener ningún tipo de competición de surfing ahora en Australia, que es algo muy grande y que, vamos, yo el año pasado estuve precisamente viendo Cruzadas con un amigo como Pillos está por ahí y ahora nada, o sea, de repente todo el surfing se ha parado en Australia y el impacto es grande. Hemos estado hablando sobre todo del viaje, de cómo va a afectar esto a nuestros viajes en el futuro, nos movemos mucho, Taylor se mueve muchísimo, sabe lo que es viajar. Y bueno, él dice que yo creo que al final va a haber pues un control, sí, rutinario, como hacen muchos países, de, bueno, pues hacer un chequeo. Y bueno, no sé si pasará, alguien ha comentado ahí que a lo mejor pues incluso poner dentro de nuestros pasaportes si tenemos coronavirus, si lo hemos pasado o no, o demás. Y, y bueno, y ahora pues estábamos comentando un poco pues eso, pues esa vuelta a la normalidad, qué hacemos nosotros en el lockdown. Taylor dice que pues eso tiene esa checklist donde él se va buscando la rutina, pero que la primera semana estuvo estresado. En mi caso, pues bueno, teletrabajo y tengo espacio y bueno, estoy con mi familia y tengo un bebé, entonces tampoco tengo mucho tiempo, pero sí que es importante. Bueno, we have a question here that is true, and I wanted to ask you about that. Is your last project is about Solento? Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, the tequila.
uh,
I read that. I watched I was uh, browsing a little bit surfing a little bit on the website.
yeah.
Yes, tell us a little bit more about the Solento Tequila project.
Yeah, it's something that it started probably, let's see, 8 years ago now, where I was just toying with the idea of starting a brand that sort of represented a lot of the things that I stand for. And you know, I love the idea, like working with you know, Corona in Australia, and just sort of just what, you know, the way that Mexico was treated in Australia eyes as a premium, and the way that the perspective of that was what sort of planted the seed of staying in that space. And so for me, like my drink of choice is a nice sipping tequila. And so then it was okay, you know, alcohol can be perceived as a negative, so how do we make it a positive? How do we make it
Yeah,
a positive? And especially like in Australia and a lot of places, drinking's a real like bravado sort of macho thing, and it's like show how much you could drink, and it's being the opposite of that. So sort of teaching people how to drink responsibly, slow, you know, drink it as a way to you know, just make yourself a ritual that
yeah.
you're leaving your sort of work side, and you're transitioning into just your free time on your personal time. And so yeah, so for me that was the idea behind it. And then once I went down to Mexico and really like dove into it, I fell in love with the whole thing. Tequila is more like wine, where every batch is a different taste, and they're not all the same. And it's not like a lot of other spirits that are like just triple distilled and they take out all the taste, but you really taste the agave. And being from San Diego, Mexico is a part of my DNA. You know, like I'm always been doing surf trips there.
Yeah, as
So,
I actually see a lot of comments. People say that they love it, they love the bottles and so on. It's true. I
oh
think it's
yeah,
like the concept of the social drinking. Hey, there you go.
yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
the concept of the social drinking is important. It's true that it's maybe it's something that we have more right in the Spanish culture, Italian culture, Portuguese, more south of Europe. There's this social drinking culture that
mm,
you're gonna go for drinks, but you're gonna go for talking. You
yeah,
have maybe one wine, and yeah, that's completely different. I think it's slightly changing as well. Like
mm,
even in Australia, like go get it, people and the gin tonic and stuff like that. But I remember when I was in Mexico, and I was like, wow, this is an entire world of agave. And I couldn't, and I was just like crazy. I went to a proper like agave place in Mexico, GF, with one of the hosts that we had there. And that was amazing. I was like, oh, that's really cool. It's actually a different taste. And it was like, it blew my mind. It was so cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Cool,
Mm.
cool.
Yeah, that's what people say. Let's try Salento when they celebrate the pandemic. Totally.
Yeah,
Why not?
let's do it. Yeah, yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah. Oh, well, we think we ran out of time. It's 11:30 in Spain. It's 7:30 here. What time
Yeah.
is in San Diego right now?
It's 2:30. Not too
Oh,
bad. Yeah,
that's all right. Yeah, I
yeah.
actually brought my beer. It's a little bit of a
Nice.
sticker.
You need to run it reverse because they
Yes. Oh, sorry,
reverse.
San Miguel, but it's okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
So
Cheers.
I'll get mine. Well, thank you very much, Sally. It's honestly a pleasure to talk with you. It's. I'm gonna get a brief summary while you're talking about Solenta.
Okay,
Well,
awesome.
bueno, si todo el mundo lo ha entendido, pues es el proyecto que lleva pues casi 8 años trabajando Taylor en él. Cuando estuvo trabajando en Corona descubrió pues eso, que la manera de beber que hay en algunos países no es beber social, sino es más beber por beber y pues ese la bocada de mira cuánto bebo más y demás. So, dijo, bueno, pues cómo no crear una bebida que sea más disfrutar de la bebida, que sea más algo más social, algo pues como hacemos un poco en España. Y vino con este proyecto y tenemos la botella. Y yo creo que es verdad, es un mundo abierto, encima los sabores que te da el ágave y bueno, pues también potenciar un poco pues eso, pues lo que tiene México. Y bueno, pues fueron con este proyecto y yo creo que esto ya with this is time. I think we covered most of like everything that we want to tell you. Honestly, I don't know. You made me really really happy.
Nice.
I was one day I maybe talk to someone like Taylor, and there you go. I'm
Thank
talking to
you.
Taylor.
Thank
It's
you.
even better. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that was fun.
thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. We hope that if Sydney, if you want to come here around, I always have a couple of boards if you want one, and
Perfect.
I've got a bed, so if you need some, so my
Perfect.
house is your house.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
Gracias a todos, gracias chicos, gracias por estar ahí. Y bueno, pues nada, desde Australia, un beso para todos, un beso para Charlie, para los organizadores. Y para mi familia, que yo creo que también está por ahí, para mis amigos, pues a Alonso, a Samu, a mi hermana Sara, que yo creo que la ha visto por ahí. So que, thank you, Chelo.
All right,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much. Have a
See
good
ya.
one, mate.
You
See
too.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.